Welcome to the Occupational Safety Leadership Podcast, episode number 228 with repeat guest Tracy Krieger of OC Safety. Tracy, I had you on episode 191. Thought it was awesome on psychological safety. I think I want to kind of continue that talk, kind of delve more into it, and it's still something that I'm trying to get a better grasp on. Because to me it's kind of a new topic, and maybe it's not a new topic, but it's how it's being branded or maybe changed, and maybe it really is not as new and different as I really think it is. Could you dive in? Well, first off, tell folks how to find you, connect you, a little bit about yourself, and then we'll just kind of dive right in.
Okay, great. Thank you. So you can find me on LinkedIn or also my website at Safety OC. And I'd love to talk to you more about psychological safety if you reach out to me. Um, so I don't think psychological safety is new. So I think before COVID kind of opened the door for us to really focus on this. I think before it was you'd get some people where if you clock in, you leave home life. And when you clock out, then you can have home life again. But that's not really how the world works. And so I think it was kind of suppressed. It was there. Of course, we've always had burnout and stress at work, but now since COVID, it's actually opened the door for us to actually have psychological safety in the workplace and help our employees feel valued and safe at work. And so, kind of my definition is, people are feeling emotionally secure and safe at work. They're not, their well being is great. I mean, everybody has stress and everybody has mental health, so 0 to 10. And so, we always want to have check in with our mental health on where our scale is. So if we're at a 1, or some days we'll be at a 9. It every day takes a different toll because we'll be having good months, and then maybe we found out someone died or had cancer or got in a car accident, and then our mental health go 2 or 3. So we're always kind of needing to check in with our mental health for ourselves, but also work can help us by not having high stress and toxic environments.
So I guess some of the resources that somebody could use. Well, first off, I know it's hard to recognize when somebody is having a hard time too. So we probably have to have a pretty good baseline of knowing that person, understanding that person, and I think that safety safety folks. Well, I like to say I can't say this for everybody, but I like to say that I work with everybody. I don't work for anybody. So I think part of safety is I get around, and not that I talk to everybody. I sure do try to talk to everybody. So I probably have a better gauge of the people in the workplace and the things they're going through. But there are some people that not that they're mean or awful. They just are just not a person that shares. And so with those people, it's probably a little more difficult to really understand what's going on.
Yeah, there must be some barrier because I think it starts when you're hiring the employee. The manager needs to make sure they have a safe place to share, but the manager also needs to know how to um, create that safe space and be vulnerable, be a leader, and show them that it's okay. So there's a great article from Harvard Business Review, um, posted, I think it was 219, 220. 98% of the people said that they suffer from like a poor workplace, or rudeness is rampant. And I think it's just because we're not creating that space when we're first hired. Managers have a lot on their plate, and they're not even, some even are not even trained to be a manager. And that's where it really, I think, is a hard place, is because you say, hey, here's the manager and here's 13 employees now you got to manage. And everybody has a different mental health, you know, and how they want to perform, how they act. Lots of things go in it.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I know that I've talked with a lot of other guests at length about how a person becomes a supervisor, and of course we're very focused on the safety side of the becoming a supervisor and that stuff. But just because Joe can make all these widgets doesn't always mean Joe's going to be an awesome supervisor. You know, so
Mm-hmm.
so there probably companies need to look at some additional training because he might be really good at running that machine, but he um, just because he's new, of course. He just hasn't
Yes,
been exposed to more and more to really understand um, not just this concept, but really how to juggle because the supervisor has a lot of responsibilities on their
yes.
hands. So it makes it really hard for them to say every day I have to carve out time to talk to one of the 13 folks. I mean, all 13 folks
Yeah,
at
yeah.
some point in time. Then.
Yeah, that is really hard because you're in meetings all day, you're, whatever the case may be, it just kind of, it's sad because managers are so stressed out themselves, but then they're supposed to model to their employees and they don't even know. They have no clue. And we see that through a lot of companies, a lot. I mean, I think it's just kind of the norm right now.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. So I hate to ask you to go back again, but we had
Sure.
talked about, I mean, but you had talked about a really great resource on the
Yes.
Harvard the review, and I was trying to take notes and my pen wasn't working. But if
Oh,
you could
okay.
go over
Yeah.
that, I'd like to really read that on my off time to understand a lot
Yes, it's
more.
a great article.
Hmm.
So it was in February 2013, the price of insolvability.
Hmm. Okay.
Have you heard of that before?
No, no, no. But I'm
Yeah.
going to go back and get it now. So,
So they, over 14 years, they did a poll of over 14,000 people, CEOs, everybody, and everybody's just having a rough time at work.
right.
And, it's part of our environment, what's going on in the world. COVID hit, so many factors, and it definitely impacts every part of the business.
Oh, oh yeah, oh yeah. Um, and I was starting to think just like when I was just a very young, fresh safety guy, we didn't have things like computers, you know. So you just went to a person who was in charge of the admin stuff and said, hey, can you type this? You know, if I had to travel, I'd call somebody and say, hey, I need to travel. I need you to set up this. Now all of us kind of do that stuff ourselves along with our everyday job. So we're doing a lot of admin tasks, which of course obviously have to be done by somebody somewhere, but that really is detracting from our main jobs a lot of times too.
Yes, we have so much on our plate at work. And we also seen that employees are making cutbacks. So, I even heard, don't know if it's true until we get the investigation, but just a couple days ago with the airplanes, the tower guy was doing two jobs.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we have to really, I think, sit back, do a great analysis, investigation, and figure out how we're going to go proceed. So, one is we don't have any incidents and people get hurt because really this all ties into risk management, psychosocial safety, workplace violence. We have to have a plan. So, before you have a plan, you need to do an investigation and get an assessment going.
Right, 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 right. I hadn't even kind of thought about the workplace violence part of it and that kind of stuff. And I think somebody was trying to tell me, and I was having a hard time understanding it about how things like bullying happen in the workplace still. And I kind of thought that was something that only happened in schools, but I guess in talking to a couple of safety professionals that they really felt intimidated by. guys before and workers, and it's typically in the construction field, and that kind of stuff then. And um, I just didn't really understand all that was really happening, you know.
Yeah, so I even worked in warehouses and it's still happening.
Hmm.
Like it, just the harassment, the bullying, the intimidation, it's still going on. And I think a part of it is that people are just stressed out at work.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so when we have our brain that has the neurotransmitters, and it's just like dopamine and cortisol. So it impacts our safety behavior. So if you're in a high risk environment, then your um, cortisol is going to raise. You are now going to have impaired judgment, increased anxiety, and it can lead to unsafe behaviors. And so the managers may not know that they're being intimidated or bullying or anything because their brain isn't healthy. And so we need to really focus on what we're giving our managers and make them successful. Just like me, I did have 13 employees. I want them to be successful. So I want my manager to help me be successful. So we really need to watch out for each other and help each other along instead of really having that bully, that toxic environment, so to speak, that, labels it toxic environment. So we
Right,
need
right.
to step back, like I said, do an investigation, assessment, and see what we're missing so we can now plan for workplace violence, psychosocial safety, and really the whole business is going to grow and be productive.
Hmm. Hmm. So as part of the assessment model, would you almost give out like a survey to get started to kind of almost understand the baseline and then kind of say, so this is what the survey says, and then we can kind of focus on,
Mhm.
well, what's the next steps that we want to do?
Yeah, so in my environmental health and safety consulting, that's actually one of the first things that I implement is an employee survey. It is no name. And then afterwards, too, I also do a gap analysis of the whole site of all their documents. And then that's when I sit down with the CEO and we make a plan for the year of how we're going to tackle it. But a survey has to be done because some people, like you said before, when we first started, that some people don't want to talk or they have fear of talking. If
Mhm.
they talk, maybe they're going to get fired.
Well, I have heard that some employees do have that fear of speaking up. I mean, I know that I've always tried to encourage folks to speak up, but that doesn't mean that they're actually
Mhm.
listening to me, because maybe they're still a little scared out there to speak up and say things.
Yeah, because we're not creating a safe place. And that safe place needs to start on day one when they
Hmm.
come in that door.
Hmm. Okay.
And it needs
Um,
to start at the top. We say that with safety. If you don't have buy-in by the CEO, are you really, how good is your safety program?
right, 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 right. So that top person has to give us the time, the money, the effort, all that good stuff then. And not just that, but they have to walk it too. They can't say, well, I'm going to give you the time, effort, and money, and only because it makes business sense, but I'm not going to follow it. So they also have to follow that whole thing.
For sure. And then they need to make sure that their managers are following it, having training, make sure it's part of their annual review. You know,
Mm, right,
if
right, right.
we hit people where it counts with the money, you're going to see change.
Hmm.
And also too, I think we see a lot of change too when we're not safety cops. When we're educators, we're teaching people because I go out a lot. I've been in the business for over 15 years and people say I never heard that before. Still, we're still hearing that.
Hmm. Hmm.
We're still seeing people in trenches dying.
Hmm.
We got to make a change. We got to
Hmm.
make a change. And it starts with one person.
Right. Could we go back to the assessment part for just a
Yes.
second or two? Could
Yeah.
you give a couple of practical examples without any company names, of course, and all that, about how you came in, you did a assessment, the assessment indicated X result, and kind of what you kind of put in place to start to mitigate that, to make that better?
So one of the questions would be, do you feel safe at work, or do you ever feel unsafe at work? And a lot of times they say yes. And so then you need to dive into a little deeper. Well, how do you feel unsafe? I don't feel safe to go talk to my manager on a safe incident. Like we said, they might get fired, they may not get a raise. Um, it could be any number of things. And so when we look at the whole assessment, the whole employee I lost my mind, employee questionnaire, that's the
Mhm,
word.
mhm,
um,
mhm.
we can now go back and see, like, oh, managers need to be trained. So we talk about soft skills, we talk about communication, active listening. I mean, we really go back to the basics. And I think sometimes we forget those basic skills are so important.
Oh, yes. I have mentioned quite a few times that when I was young, I kind of laughed about soft skills. I was like, no, I'm really smart. You know, everybody is going to listen to me. Everything I say is awesome. And boy, the older I got, the more I realized, like, golly, I really should have focused on soft skills first and just how do you break down barriers? How do you literally just talk to somebody? All that kind of stuff, as opposed to, well, because I'm smart, people just listen. Well, that doesn't mean anything when people don't even know who you are, you know. So,
Yeah. And
mm,
that's when we have to, at that first meeting, when we're meeting people on day one or training for the week or whatever, that's when we have to really listen, and so they can feel safe to come to us and talk to us. So we really need to, all of us, I think from lower level to higher level, we all need training more on soft skills and how we can really um, just value employees and be better people to each other, because people are the most important part of your company.
hmm hmm
If you don't have people, you don't have a company.
right.
So people need to be valued,
hmm
period.
right. So, when a company introduces the psychological safety, would you say that a good place to do it is going to be right at new hire orientation, or kind of wait until the person's on board? Not that you're not talking about it, but you get everybody together and maybe do like a section at once and talk about it for an hour or two. Have you seen different strategies that companies have used?
I haven't seen different strategies that people use, but what I like to do is psychosocial isn't safety, isn't really required by OSHA, but
Right.
workplace violence is.
hmm
Now, we do have psychosocial could fall under, if it's really bad, of course, the general act,
hmm
we're kind of a little, everything falls into under that. But if we make it go into workplace violence, then, oh, especially California, you
hmm
do have to put on workplace violence incidents on your OSHA 300 log.
hmm
So it is now regulated. So we really need to focus on how we're going to go about this. So what I like to do is definitely have new hire training on it,
hmm
but then also bring your manager separately and have a different training for the senior management, CEO, have a different training for them on what they need to do to protect everybody. We
hmm
need to have a plan. If we
Right.
can plan, if we can prepare, and we can have drills, everybody's going to be safer when or if it does happen.
Oh, I had never thought about it from a drill aspect then. So,
Yes.
Very good, very good. Well, I do drills all the time at work, but I had never thought about using this as part of a drill and what we would do and how to execute it. And even if you weren't really sure you were ready for a drill, you could do a number of tabletops and kind of say,
Mhm.
well, now that we've fine-tuned our procedure enough, now we're kind of ready for a drill. We could do that.
Yeah, yeah. I take it
Mhm,
step by step. So it's not overwhelming. We don't want anybody to be overwhelming in this process. It's
mhm,
not a quick, 1 day, 8 hour training, stress everybody out that we could have an active shooter.
mhm,
That's not what we want. So we want to be very precise in how we're going to do this. And it definitely, as a safety professional, I can definitely help because I'm been through one where I had to lock down my office doors for someone in our employee was threatening to get a gun, and I had to call the 5150 on him.
mhm,
And
mhm,
so we need to prepare for that day that may or may not happen. And so I was prepared. And so luckily, everybody was safe at the job site and the office. And so I've had some personal, as a safety manager, but now I can actually go in and help companies be successful.
mhm. Yes, very good. And this is a really good natural stopping point. We're just about out of time. Could you tell everybody how to find you again? I still have a lot more to talk about. So if this was a positive experience, we'll do a part three in the future. But if you could tell everybody how to find you, that would be great.
Nice. Thank you for having me.
Mhm.
So you can find me on LinkedIn at Tracy Krieger, Krieger dash MPH dash CSP. And you can also go to my company website at Safety OC. I'd love to talk to you guys more about this. And I'll be speaking at a safety conference, National Safety Conference in April, April 24th. And there's still time to sign up for the conference. So please reach out if you guys have any questions. Thank you.
Fantastic, Tracy. Thank you so much. And
Thank
with that,
you.
episode 228 is complete with Tracy Krieger. And I think I said the first time of OC safety, but you're safety OC. I am so sorry
Oh, no
about that,
worries.
Tracy.
No worries.
Thank you for joining me. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you.